I have a question here, a long one. If I'm skimming through the question for certain reasons that if I'm not answering them clearly, it is because I'm not capable of handling such matters. But I'll present the question anyways. Why Imam Ali, with all his bravery, jurisprudence, intense knowledge of the Holy Book, couldn't capture the evil, hypocritic tools of the first two caliphs, which jeopardized the true essence of Islam as a religion, taught by example by the Prophet and his progeny. My very short answer is, because this is a historical answer, it's a historical question which requires me to go through the history. And I'm not in a position in such a gathering to go through the history, but I can say this much. That we don't know what transpired in the early days of Islam. We don't know much. I'll be very honest with you, as a student of history, I can tell you that the more I read, the more humble I become. Because sometimes we are given the history as if this has happened the way it happened. That's not true. So we really don't know what happened, and yet we continue to labor with the ill feelings that we have. And I don't think that we have a solution today to go back and to see why Imam Ali did this and that, why he could not do this and that. I think what we need to keep in mind is that Imam Ali, like any other Imams during their own times, they knew their times much better than we do. And therefore, they decided to act in a certain way, to deal with it in a certain way. And honestly, there was no absolute answer to the way. It was not something that you could do, you could go and say, hey, you, the first caliph, you are a munafiq. There were no such conversations reported. Oh, you, second caliph, you are a kafir. I don't see that conversation taking place. So even if the Imam knew that they were playing political games, it was not up to him to expose them. Rather, the history exposed them. And what they laid down, I don't think one of the reasons why history is written in the way it is written, it becomes a tool of ideology. Sunni ideology is dominating the history. Therefore, we don't know the truth. Much of the sources are telling us one-sided. Now, the Shia historians, they have tried to correct the situation, and they fall into other extremes. So, honestly, in all humility, I must say that we don't know the history. We only know that we found the true Imam. We only know that we love him. And the only commitment that we need to have is that we need to follow him. We need to follow Imam Ali in all our lives. What he did with others is not important. What he has done for us is important. He saved for us the religion that you and I practice. And therefore we need to appreciate what he did for us. So that's for one question. The other question is about rituals. Please, I should not be misunderstood on this whole question. Rituals are important. I don't mean to say rituals are not important. But any fights over the rituals are meaningless. They don't lead us anywhere. We are not in a position to give a status to the rituals that we ought to give to the text of our religion. So, the question here is that although you implore the audience not to ritualize religion, it is widely discussed that ritual acts can help ground an individual in the experience of the life, such that we do not become carried away into our misguided thinking. I don't know what misguided thinking is all about. Take the ritual practices involved in 12 steps program like Alcoholics Anonymous, for instance, that help ground people who are lost in addiction and develop personal healing. So perhaps what you mean to suggest is to not carry out the rituals without thoughtfulness and consideration. Perhaps you may even suggest that our rituals must begin with the practice of khushu. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, khushu means, you need to create in you a state, inner state, to do it. Now, could you please comment on this? As I said, that I'm myself ritualistic. I do perform my rituals. I do like my rituals. My salat is ritual. My recitation of the Quran is ritual. But what I do want us to understand is that if the salat if the salat ends up not making any changes in you as a good person, then that salat is useless. It's not, you are not doing the salat. You are doing something different. Because salat is capable of taking you to the higher level of awareness, higher level of spirituality, higher level of purity. It's not enough to do the ghusl and become pak outside without purifying your inner self. So that also is ritual. Jummah, you do ritual of ghusl Jummah. But what it really means is that you cleansify the pollution that is affecting your well-being inside. Oh, we have so many bad thoughts, we have so many bad things that we think about. We think bad about people. Whenever we remember someone, we remember only the bad things. I think all of this needs to change with the ritual of the salat. But salat, if it doesn't help us, that means we have not understood the salat well. I don't mean to say you should not pray. You should pray. But it means that you better think carefully why you are praying, so that you gain from it. Some people do Salatul Layl, Namaz al-Shab, for example. Namaz al-Shab is the highest level of spirituality. If it has not changed you, what a shame. You're doing the Salah, but nothing happened to you. You should be doing it so that it changes you, makes you a better person. Remember that the Quran is solely telling us to improve your moral behavior. If anything that will speak louder than anything is your moral behavior. If you don't behave well, you will not be able to, get the salvation that you are seeking. So that's for that one. How to relate with immoral people. Don't be judgmental. Hey, judge not, lest you be judged. So be careful in judging people. Be careful in labeling people. Especially takfir, kufr, all these things are wrong. Kafir ban gaya. How easily we make somebody kafir. Oh, here's munafiq. Oh, okay, all right, so show me, where is he munafiq? So where is she munafiq? In other words, please don't judge people. Unless you know that the evil is taking place, then don't shut your eyes. When evil things happen, don't keep quiet. You have to say, otherwise you are participating in evil things. If you don't say, Allah Ta'ala is very right. He says, if zulm is happening, if injustices are happening, and you don't say anything, then you are participating with them. So you should be careful. Okay, what are the practical ways to develop a genuine interest in building a relationship with the Quran? Very good question, but it's coming. Please be patient with me tomorrow night. I haven't finished all the pillars, and I know, I have my plans, So lecture 5, I'm working on 4 and 5, inshallah. I'll try to cover as much as possible. So rest assured that I will find time to provide you with practical measures. How do you read the Quran? How do you relate yourself in the Quran. And I think it's a very, very important exercise because we have all ritualized the Quran. I read the Quran every day, even a page every day. So I ritualized the Quran. But what does it do to me? That's the question I should ask myself. What did you learn? So my own way is, saying that, so in the morning I read the Quran because I read after the Fajr. So in the evening I asked, what did you read today? Believe me, many times I don't remember what I read. No, that's not the way to read it. That's not the way to remember it. At least you remember one item that you read. If a page you read, there was some reference to the Iman, there was some reference, to the kindness, some reference to justice, so many things come up. And we need to somehow remind ourselves. So we'll talk more about it. Okay, now, as you mentioned in the time of the Prophet, Laylatul Qadr Amal were not conducted. No, I didn't say that. Laylatul Qadr was always conducted. Laylatul Qadr Khayr min Alfi Shahr was always there. 19th night was the night of the Badr. The Battle of Badr took place on 19th night. And it so happened that in history, Shab-e-Zarbat took place on 19th night. So 19th night became the night in which the Prophet prayed. Laylatul Qadr means to pray, to ask for forgiveness. The tasbih are more important. Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. Astaghfirullah Rabbi. Say it in your own language, cry and tell Allah, please forgive me. Don't leave me without forgiveness. That's Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr means reading the Quran, recitation of the Quran. Laylatul Qadr means getting together your family, sitting together, reading the Quran, reading the dua together, so that as a family you become more closer. Do those things in a collective way. We are in the... Why I was complaining last night that you are not uttering anything. Rituals require response from the people. When you go to a party somewhere, if you don't clap, then you are wrong. Everybody is clapping, you need to clap. If everybody is drumming, you need to drum. Because you are in the party. When you come for the Amal, then you also cry out, Bika ya Allah. No. You are participating in the community. Like salawat, these days your salawats have gone down. Because we moderns, oh wow, what is this traditionalism? Allah! So everybody is, oh. Now, the Prophet said, Irfa'u aswatakum bis-salati ala nabi. Raise your voices when you pray to Allah about Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Let's see what different does it make. You are a community. You're supposed to participate. You can't keep quiet. These are the rituals that all collectively perform. It's like not clapping in a party, not dancing in the music, in the parties. You are together in your collective memory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do the way it should be done. You don't have to be shy about it. And when you are angry, don't you shout in front of the people? Oh, I'm disappointed, Ya Allah. I'm crying. I'm calling you out. Allah didn't say, whisper to me and I'll listen to you. He said, call me out. See what the Arabic does? Call me out and I will listen to you. I'll never give up on you. You call me and see, test me, whether I'm able to do it or not. And God does it. You won't believe it. You won't believe it. I claim, Murtaza now, has warned me, no spiritual mother to be remembered, no these things, don't do these things. So and my wife said also, no spiritual mothers, and I said, okay, all right, I will not say it. But I saw in a dream, when I was telling Murtaza, I saw Ayatollah Khoui in my dreams. And one of the holy nights, I saw him, without abba, And the old man is dragging me with hands. We are moving, we are walking over the dead bodies. The dead bodies. And we are moving. He's taking me. And then he says to me, he looks at me and he's crying. He says, this is what has happened. This is what has happened. Are you surprised? If I were to interpret this, if I told my teacher, when I told my teacher, he said, this is a warning. Ayatollah is complaining about something that you need to discover.
Sorry, yes. May I ask my question? Okay, you said that in the time of the Prophet, they didn't do Laylatul Qadr the way we do it now by putting the Quran on our heads. Like, because you said the simple fact that we didn't have Quran in the numbers and masses that we have right now. Like there wasn't enough to go around for everybody to keep it on their head and do it. So how was Laylatul Qadr amal done? Like, what was the way it was done? And if we're doing it now because it's been done that way for however many number of years, how are we benefiting from it? Because we digress from the way that it should be done, whatever that way is.
So that's a good question. How are we digressing? My point of reference here is that the Quran is the most respectable document that we have. There's one book about which we don't question anything. And that's the Quran. And we are putting the Quran on our head and we are saying to Allah that out of respect for this book. Do you know what you say when you are saying it, when you put the Quran on your head?
Yes.
Allahumma inni as'aluka bihadha al-kitab. I am asking you for the sake of this book in which you have described good people. You praise good people. Make me one of those. Who remembers this? Do you think about that ritual? This is what I mean. That if you were to look at the ritual of putting the Quran on your head, it makes sense to me and I do approve it. I am not the one who will not approve it. I am not the one who will not put the Quran on his head. But my teachers have told me in Iran and Iraq, in Sunnat Payghambar Nabut, the Prophet did not do it. The Prophet did say to Ya Allah, Bika, Ya Allah. He put his hand on his head and he did it. We are putting the Quran out of respect for that book. You don't want to put the Quran on your head. I have seen many ulama not putting the Quran on their head while they do Bika Ya Allah. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm simply saying that if you think you should be doing it, then do it the right way.
Yes.
Do it the way it should be done.
Exactly.
Otherwise, there is no authority behind it. You can put a piece of paper on your head. Now I'm told that people are putting their iPhones on their head, that the Quran is there in the iPhones. That's not the purpose. That's not the purpose. Yes.
When the Prophet put his hand on his head, he is the existential Quran himself. So would you not suggest that that is what...
Let's not get into mysticism. Let's not get to Sufism. I'm not objecting for you to keep the Quran on your head. I'm simply telling you that this was not known during the Prophet's time. If we did it, we did out of respect for the Quran. And it is a correct respect. There are so many things we didn't do. The Prophet didn't do. We are doing it. Prophet didn't sit on the table and eat. Oh, Prophet didn't do, talk when the Quran was recited, when the du'as were recited. Prophet did not talk. We talk. We do everything. We insert everything and every pieces of rituals we do it. Don't we? We should question that. I'm not saying don't do the amal. I'm simply saying it was not known during the Prophet's time. If it was practiced by Sheikh Abbas Qummi, by Ayatollah Mohsin Hakim, by Ayatollah Khui, then I'm willing to do the same thing. Because I know they have the ma'rifah. I know they have the level of understanding that I don't have it. I'm not saying this amal. Laylatul Qadr means, you know what the Quran says? Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr. If you read the Quran on Laylatul Qadr, it's like reading the Quran for 1,000 months. If you do the 2 rakat salat on Laylatul Qadr, it's like doing the 1,000 rakat namaz. That's Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr is not Allahumma inni aftati wa sana bihamdik. That's not Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr means a big night for you to open your heart to God. And do it well, with ma'rifah, so that you can benefit. Otherwise, you are simply doing the rituals without any meaning.
Exactly.
Have I answered your question? Does it satisfy you?
More or less.
More or less. I don't think there is a definite, because you're not the students of history. I'm the student of rituals. I study rituals. I find out when was Qunut introduced by the Prophet and the Salah. I ask, when was the Prophet did Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. When did he do it? This is what I study. I want to study when was Dua Kumail introduced by Imam Ali. It was on the 15th night of Sha'ban. We read it every Thursday, that's fine. It was 15th night, you should never miss to read it. This is my research. I cannot satisfy, I cannot open all the books in front of you. I can simply tell you, advise you what you think it is. And I don't mean to say that I will stop putting the Quran on my head. I will do it. As much as you will do it, I will do it. And if you don't do it, I will still do it. I don't do it for you. I do it for myself. So let's remember, don't push me on those angles of existentialism and mysticism. I'm not that person. I'm frank and outright. I will not fool you with anything. No, I will not do that. You would rather hate me than hear something lies from me. You rather hate me as much as you want, curse me as much as you want. But I will
We
not
like
hate
you, Aziz Bhai. We like you very much.
Any other questions? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Let's pray for one another. Always. Don't forget to pray for each other. If I remember my Kulsum Bai, I always pray for her. Roshan Bai, I always pray for them. Because they are part of me. They are always respected. I always remember. There are people I remember. Hussein Finji, I always remember. I don't know for what reason, but he's always there. In other words, there are so many people whom I remember. It's very important to remember one another. We need each other's prayers. Don't be arrogant. I need you as much as you need me. And let's pray for one another. All the time. In all humility. One day our prayers will be heard. Don't be a perfectionist. There's no perfectionism. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect. Otherwise we all fall short. Allahumma ighfir lana warhamna wa tub alayna innaka anta at-tawwabur rahim. The topic seems to be rotating around biomedical ethics, but I just want to underscore something that we need to keep in mind, that ethical decisions are not like juridical decisions. Ethical decisions are not fatwa. So please keep that in mind, that whatever we say is not a fatwa. What we are saying is a recommendation based on the information that has been supplied to us by the medical team, by the social workers. In the hospital, there are so many groups that work on a case. So, talking about this question is, as you talked about euthanasia during the lecture, should extenuating circumstances be taken into consideration when talking about abortions? Yes, I think in all areas of medical treatment, in all areas of medicine, we need to take into consideration circumstances, dire circumstances that are beyond human control. And sometimes the life of the mother is in danger, sometimes the life of the fetus is in danger, and it has to be determined by the medical team, and accordingly we need to make a decision. But I must say quite clearly, although it is being used, I don't mean to say it's not used. Even in Iran it is used as a mode of birth control. Abortion is used as a mode of birth control, which is not correct, which is not right. I am talking about, when I say which is not right, I should say it is not legitimate, Islamically speaking, from the point of view of the fiqh, the jurisprudence. They would not let you do that. But it is there, and I think the Sunni scholars have approved abortion as a means of birth control. If I have too many children and I'm again expecting another child, then they give the permission, and they use poverty as a reason for it. But there should be family planning before. Family planning is fine. You do the family planning and you don't come to a point whereby you need to destroy a life. That's what the cutoff line is, 120 days for the Sunni Muslims, but it also is recognized in Iran. That means in a Shia country too. In other words, 120 days has become a standard view that up to 120 days of pregnancy, abortion for medical reasons, for prenatal genetics, if they determine that the fetus is, sick, not normal, will suffer when it comes in this world, then there has been permission in the Sunni world, but the Shia world has not allowed it, although it is being done. Although it is being done, I don't mean to say it's not being done, but according to the jurisprudence, it is not allowed. So whatever you face, I think you need to take care of your decision-making process beforehand, before the decision is made. There's a lot I could say. You can read my book. I have covered most of the areas of controversial issues in abortion, in the beginning of life, terminating the early life. That chapter actually deals with these questions. So if you want to see that, you can see in that book. Now, there is another question here. Is it not better to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly than via intercession? Now, the word intercession has been used. And I don't like the word intercession because it is theologically loaded word. Anybody who asks this question, would you clarify what do you mean by intercession? Wasata is not intercession. Whose question is this? Man? Anyway, intercession, we are not talking about intercession. If we say بحق فاطمة الزهراء, بحق Muhammad, بحق Ali, بحق means in the honor of this person. If you, Ya Allah, if you respect these individuals, please do this favor to me. That's not intercession. Intercession is a Catholic word, which means you go to the saint and directly say, oh, Saint Francis of Assisi, do this for me. I don't know if people go to Abul Fazl Abbas saying that, yeah, Abul Fazl Abbas, I want a child. Give me a child. Even if you say it, you don't mean to say that you are asking Abul Fazl Abbas directly. You are, asking in the name of Abul Fazl Abbas, out of respect for Abul Fazl Abbas. So I think that, I don't know what, now, why a lot of our du'as, like dua tawassul? It's not a lot of du'as, it's only one. I haven't seen many du'as, like tawassul. Tawassul is only one. And if you don't like to read it, don't read it. There's no problem. But if you're reading it, then try to understand that tawassul means asking a recommendation of a friend. Would you say that when you are applying for a job, and if you know that I'm influential in that university, and you are seeking a job in that university, if you told me, could you please recommend my case, are you doing intercession? Not at all. You're asking me to recommend because I am honored in that university. I'm respected in it. What I will tell them honestly about you, they will accept it because I am respected. Same way Imam Hussein is respected, Fatima is respected. They have Maqam al-Mahmud, that means they have respected place in the spirituality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you ask, for the sake of Fatima to Zahra, I do. I will tell you very openly, I always do. بحق فاطمة الزهراء, بحق محمد المصطفى, whoever, In other words, it all depends with whom you are connected spiritually. Sometimes you feel you are closer to Abul Fazl Abbas. Sometimes I have never dared use Imam Ali as my recommender. Imam Ali knows me too well. He would not recommend me. But I know Abul Fazl Abbas is very kind. He might do it. So, in other words, you feel comfortable. You say, for the sake of Sachedina bint al-Hussein. Sachedina, this little lady, has a spiritual value in the eyes of Allah, in the eyes of Ahlul Bayt. If I use her name, in other words, I want to explain to you a very simple philosophical issue. And this is, always ask yourself, am I worthy of being represented by Abul Fazl Abbas? If the answer comes, no, you better shut up. You better not bring your case to Abul Fazl. He might just slap you. Go away. You don't deserve my friendship at all. Go. You are munafiq. You are hypocrite. If you know this about yourself, don't try that. Don't try to play those games. They are no politicians. They are saints. And they like to see an honest heart. I don't mean to say you have to be a perfect person, but the moment you say, I have a problem of my own. If you know that, then don't bring Abul Fazl Abbas in between. Better talk to God. Maybe God is more forgiving. Because these saints know us. They know us and they won't recommend us. I'm pretty sure. So I don't use them. Okay? Now,
there's a question on back and front, and one is number 1 and one is number 2.
okay. You spoke about innate sense of what is right and wrong. I'm a human being. And conscious enough to override this innate sense. You could do it. No problem. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. God has already implanted in you the good and bad. And yet, the innate sense tells you, khibatakan. And the moment you can override, courage. So you override your inner sense. The inner sense of right and wrong tell you, don't talk about people behind them. Go and confront them if you know that's the problem that you have. If you don't do it, then you still fall victim to your own tricks. That be it so, There's no problem. Do it. You don't worry about the inner sense. Do it. You don't have conscience to guide you. Go. Do whatever you want to do. Allah does not need your dua. It is for our own benefit. What do you mean Allah does? Is Allah asking you and me, hey Abdulaziz, can I have this $1,000? I have never heard Allah telling me. I don't know what does that mean. If Allah is doing the dua, Allah never does the dua. He simply says, Ud'uni, ask me, call me out, and I will help you. That's what Allah says. But we don't do dua for God. God is asking us to do dua so that He would listen to us and give us out of His generosity. Why do we? I'm doing this for the pleasure of Allah. Why do we say? Okay. Why do we say, I'm doing this? You don't have to say. You don't have to say. Qurbatan ilallah. You don't have to say. Don't say it. If you don't want to say it. It simply means, Ya Allah, I'm doing this, I want to be closer to you. Can you draw me closer to yourself? And that's the search for all human beings. Do you understand what I'm saying? Qurbatan ilallah means, I want to do this so that I can be close. I'm taking care of these orphans, qurbatan ilallah. I'm taking care of these poor people, qurbatan ilallah. Means I want to be closer to Allah. Now, you don't want to say it and Allah will still take you closer. Don't say it. If you think this is artificial, don't say it. Anything that doesn't come out of your heart, don't do it. For God's sake, learn to be sincere in what you are asking. Don't say it because it is part of, badai kiye che. Hone ko to kaise ajawa. Bo pata na nakra kare che. You know, that's okay. If people say nakra kare che, bale kare che. But mane avat nathi karni. I will not do it. I will not fall into this kind of superficiality. You don't need superficialities. In religion, you want sincerity. That means your outward and inward are all one and the same. Don't pretend to be something outward which you are not inside. That's nifaq. That's hypocrisy. You know, it applies to all of us. We all do that. Okay? Now, if I am an ethical and moral person, why does it matter if I follow any religion or not? It doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't. First thing you need to be is to be moral. But then you need to anchor your morality. Otherwise, you will be like South Africans who use apartheid in the name of religion. They use the Bible to interpret their own philosophy, their own politics, and then say, Bible is supporting that the blacks are inferior. The Bible is supporting that the whites are superior. Well, that's a lie, you know. But that's what they do. In other words, there are so many ways in which you can bypass religion. What I'm saying is that you need faith. You need faith to anchor your morality. Otherwise, you will become a relativist. Do you know what is a relativist? That means something that is good in my opinion might not be good in your opinion. Whereas the value of truthfulness is important for every one of us. Do you get the sense that I'm talking about? I'm saying that there are absolute values in which we all believe. To save a human life is an absolute value. There is no if and but. If you do that, then the relativity enters it. Modern morality is full of relativity. And that's why people think that we don't have to follow any religion, we don't have to follow any morality. But I would prefer that you be moral first and then religious. That's my understanding of Islam itself. Okay. What is the difference between a ruh and a nafs? Ooh, big question, very big question. After death is soul alive as it is functioning now. After death is soul alive as it is functioning now. That is soul seeing and hearing? Honestly, my information is very limited on these issues. I do read a lot, but I don't have any firm understanding of life after death. I don't have it. I've been told, I will ask my teachers to tell me, there's so many things, but I must tell you one thing, that once the person dies, the spirit and the soul continues to relate to the family members. So what you do for them is important. How you remember them is important. Your mother, your father, anybody, your friend, their ruh is seeking you out. Therefore you go to the graveyard. Why you go to the graveyard? Because where that person is buried, you don't have to go necessarily. It's not wajib to go. But it's recommended to go because they feel you have visited them. Who are they? These are the spirits of the dead. They feel you have visited them. It's good to do that if you can do it. But if you can't do it, doesn't mean that you don't remember them. Why do you say 2 rakat namaz in Maghrib, between Maghrib and Isha for them? So that they get a gift from you. And the spirits talk to one another. They say about it. I got a gift for my daughter. I got a gift for my son. My husband remembered me. My wife remembered me. In other words, the life continues. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense at all that we have only life in this world, and once we are dead, we are gone. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. There's much more than that. I told you about my dream about Ayatollah Khomeini, but I have other dreams. I don't want to reveal them, but certainly I believe that the spiritual world is in touch with you. Your mother hasn't forgotten you. Your father who died hasn't forgotten you. They come to you, they see your condition. If they see you well, they are happy. If they don't see you well, they are very sad to see you the way you are. So it's not cut off. Don't believe the moderns at all about it. And I must honestly say, there is no rationality about it. The fact is, like Umar Khayyam used to say, nobody has died and come back to tell us what happens. Really nobody has died. Have you heard people coming back and telling you? There are majlises about that. There are riwayats about it. But I don't know the value of those riwayats. Somebody died and come back and, informed us. I don't know. But I certainly know one thing, that the ruh and nafs are almost interchangeably used in the literature that I know. And in my book on biomedical ethics, I have connected ruh and nafs together. And I said they're both the same, and they're talking about the similar issues. But we talk about ruh as something that continues life. I think I finished all the questions. There was one issue that one sister brought out, I think. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. God does not burden you with more than what you can bear. Believe it or not. Now, in human circumstances, the way human beings negotiate their life, they might not come to the same conclusion like God comes. God says, I'm not burdening you with more than what you can bear. But me as a servant of God, I feel that I can't bear it anymore. It's not possible for me to bear it, I don't know, it's very hard to explain, but it's important to keep in mind that there are two perspectives. From my perspective as a human being, I'm not fully capable of rationalizing what is happening to me. I'm not capable of doing it. But from God's point of view, I don't understand His philosophy of putting me through it. I have no way of knowing it. The only faith I have is that God will not burden me more than I can bear. And that's something is sometimes very difficult to make people understand. My sister today, when I saw her in the hospital, she was saying, why is this happening to me? And she was right. And I tried to reason with her. I told her that the more you thank God, after all, you still are able to see, you are still able to think, you are able to talk. There's so many things that you are still capable of doing. She said, no, but my legs are dead. My hands are dead. I'm in pain all over. And I was quiet for a minute. I said, she's right. She is going through what I don't understand. I'm not in her position to know what she is going through. And she told me, if I move my fingers, I'm in pain. If I move anything, I'm in pain. What is this? What kind of life is this? Why is God keeping me alive? I had no answer. I had no answer. Honestly, I tried very much to make sense, but she was absolutely right. She didn't understand. In my mind came the whole issue of medical treatment sometimes is interfering in the lifespan and keeping people alive unnecessarily when the nature would have taken a much better course of action. Would have, let the person die. But who am I, to say anything like that? In other words, I'm a chaplain in the hospital. And, many times there is a baby for 12 months in pediatric ward in West Virginia. She is on her tummy. The baby is on her tummy. waiting for the heart transplant. They have not found the heart. The mother comes and sleeps 3 nights in a week. The rest, it's the social worker, nurses who are taking care of the child. Imagine, and the father is not there. Nobody knows where the father is. In other words, this is a desperate situation. Any human being would give up. Any human being would give up. But the mother, as we would say in Gujarati, shabash, she was not giving up. She said, I'm waiting, I'm hopeful. Somebody would. It's a beautiful baby. Nothing wrong except the holes or something in the heart, they can't do anything about it. So they're waiting for the transplant, organ donor who would come around and give them. There are, I think, many, many issues in the medical field that we now are asking this question. Is there a wisdom to keep a person alive unnecessarily when there is no hope? I will give you a short answer that the Sharia gives. The Sharia says the obligation of the medical team is to provide a cure, not prolong the life. In the medical field itself, there is always, they're saying, prolonging the life, because there are so many interests also involved. The hospital is running on the funds that are coming from the insurance companies, from the government, and there is a vicious circle. You don't know who to call upon, in order to make the right decision, because they don't mind having this patient in the bed, The government is paying the bill, $65 per night. I don't know how much they charge, And the hospitals have to run. And therefore they keep those patients for whom the insurance companies are paying. In this country, because the government pays our healthcare bills, there is the kind of freedom that, okay, we can keep them in the hospital beds as long as we want. There are so many issues connected. Believe me, sisters and brothers, may God never bring a day when you have to sleep in the hospital feeling helpless, not knowing what to do with your life. No hope whatsoever. And this is what I saw my sister today. I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. But I tell you what I did, just to share with you. I stood on this side of her bed, on the fifth side of the bed, and read 3 times Surah Yasin, and blowed on her the 7 mubin that are part of the surah, by the way. She felt better. I don't know how long, but she felt very peaceful. I don't know. The miracles, I have no idea. Yes?
I have a related question. Is it okay to create life? We had a few years back in Scotland, they had what was it, sheep or something?
Cloning? Yeah, animal cloning is allowed.
Is allowed. But the medical science is progressing at such a stage that now they're talking about creating life.
They've not been.
And the doctors around.
Yes, I had given the testimony in front of the Congress of United States about this whole thing. And we are right. We, the ethicists, are saying that there are too many claims that science makes which have not been fulfilled as yet. You remember there was Chinese experiment done that they have cloned a cow or something, and then they found that it was a fake news. In other words, there are so many claims by the science. The science has not been able even to repeat the Dolly the sheep experiment. Has not been able to repeat it. In other words, science depends on empirical data. Empirical data is your ability to do the experiment as many times as possible and get the result. They have not. You see, it's like immunosuppressives. How it's going to control the cancer, the spread of cancer. It's still in the early stages. We don't even know how well it's going to control, the recurrence or metastasization of the cells again. There are so many unknowns, and I request you to read read the newspaper items with a grain of salt. There's so much sensationalization and dramatization about these issues. Nothing has been done as yet. As yet, I know for sure nothing has happened. There are so many claims. There are private labs, by the way, in Chicago and other places, and they're claiming to clone, and they have not shown anything as yet. As yet, they have not shown. Well, who knows? I was telling Nusrat about, there was artificial insemination during the Prophet's time because there was breeding of the horses and the camels. The best camels were bred, and there were exchanges done, and they knew it. The Prophet, said, you know it better than I do. You do it. In other words, in agriculture, we have done it. In the animal husbandry, we have done it. Human beings, we still don't know. We are able to replicate molecules. We are able to replicate, some organs of the body. And as you can see very clearly, even now the bone marrow treatment is still not producing the result as it is supposed to do. It might increase your, lifespan for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and again things come up, So many of the human achievements today are praiseworthy, but the claims that sometimes journalists do about them are not, believable. They're not credible. They're not.
So what I'm saying is that you mentioned about a person being terminally ill.
Yes.
Okay. So you don't know exactly when the person is going to pass away, right? It could be tomorrow, few days, right? So isn't the hospital staff trying to make that person as comfortable as possible?
That's why.
And that's maybe through some
That's
medications, painkillers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's
Yeah.
fine, eh?
There's no problem.
Yeah.
Opioids, morphines, they do decrease life, and therefore Catholics are against it.
Okay.
Catholics believe that when you get sick, your sins are being washed.
Oh, I see.
So human science should not be interfering in that process of being purified by God. So they say no. If you use, because morphine is cutting down the lifespan. The more they use, longer they use, the life goes down. And Catholics say that's against God's will. But we Muslims, our jurists, our scholars who have done research, they said no, the first obligation of the medical team is to control the pain.
Yes.
So if you are in pain and you need to get opioids or morphine or anything, then you should be given that. There should be no control over that. Now, what kind of side effects, what's going to happen is all part of the medical team's work. But otherwise, we have an obligation to make a person comfortable as much as possible. And the hospitals today do that, don't they? The nurses and, they work to keep the patient very comfortable. Tamam? Tamam, should?